Hi, I'm Nicholas, and in this screencast I'm going to introduce you to FluidDB. I'm assuming you're a developer or someone with computing expertise, and my aim is to provide you with enough understanding to start using the various libraries for FluidDB in your own projects. So what is FluidDB, and why was it built? Well, FluidDB is a platform for the Web of Things, each represented by an openly writable social object. Currently, most useful information exists in walled gardens sitting in databases behind applications, APIs, or in weird proprietary formats. At FluidInfo, we want to make it much easier to share, annotate, augment, and reuse information. FluidDB is designed to make this possible. FluidDB is conceptually very simple. For a start, there is only one FluidDB that all users and applications share. It contains objects that represent things. Tags are used to specify attributes of an object. Namespaces organize and relate tags, and permissions control access. Importantly, permissions only apply to namespaces, tags, and their values. Objects don't have an owner and can always have information added to them. In summary, openly writable objects are simply tagged with information. In FluidDB, an object is just a collection of tags. Unlike in similar tagging systems where tags are just words like interesting, in FluidDB tags can also carry a value. Values can be anything from primitive values, for example numbers, text, boolean values or null, to values representing images, music, video, source code, documents or anything else you care to store into FluidDB. Namespaces and tags are predefined by users and applications. When you sign up for FluidDB, you're assigned a namespace corresponding to your username. Every namespace and tag can have a description and is itself represented by an object within FluidDB, so meta tagging is possible. Every FluidDB object has a universally unique ID. This allows applications to operate on a specific object, and an optional unique about tag that can be used to indicate what the object represents. Users and applications attach tags and associated values to the object. But what about the permission system? How does FluidDB ensure that users and applications retain control over their information? Well, the usual mechanism is to control the thing being written to, a database table or document for example. But remember, FluidDB's aim is to make the world writable, so objects have no owners or associated permissions. Anyone can tag an object. Permissions only apply to the namespaces, tags, and tag values. Therefore, users and applications retain control over who sees, reads, writes, or creates data without inhibiting the writability of FluidDB. In FluidDB, the permissions for namespaces, tags, and tag values are set per action: see, create, read, and so on. And for each action, there is a permission policy that is either open or closed, along with a list of accepted usernames. It's a bit like the Unix file system where permissions on directories and files are also scoped by action, read, write, and execute, and apply to specific users or groups. To search for information, one uses FluidDB's minimalist query language. This simple yet powerful query language can be learned in minutes. In fact, the full specification of the query language fits onto this slide. However, it's important to point out that the query language is still under development, and we're going to extend it with a couple more features to make it more powerful and to make using FluidDB even simpler. Currently, the users and applications interact with FluidDB via a RESTful HTTP API. As the example shows, a get to the URL with the appropriate object ID, namespace, and tag path will return the tag's value for that object. Doing a put will add or update a value. We've covered everything you need to know from a high-level point of view. FluidDB really is very simple and very straightforward. Your next step should be to visit our website or watch the other screencasts that demonstrate some of the libraries for interacting with FluidDB. We have an enthusiastic and growing community of developers that communicate via several mailing lists and on an IRC channel. Why not drop by and say hello? We'd love to help you get involved.